It is 10 a.m. in Chicago. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's a great day today. I have an immense pleasure to be with you. My name is Lunta Di La Paulo. I'm a CPA and the founder and managing director of Yeto Accounting and Tax PLLC. It's amazing to have you today. And I have some exciting news today. If you are an individual who is also a taxpayer, of course, and you have a side hustle. You work as an independent contractor, or you let's just give some examples here. You try for Uber, you try for Lyft, or you own your own company. You're self-employed. This life is exactly for you. If you got a 1099 for 2024, you really want to stick around to see what we're going to be sharing with you. Okay, we're going to be talking about Schedule C filers, key tips to stay compliant and avoid trouble with the IRS, and of course, what the IRS job is, and very often, more often than not, it's not really favorable to most taxpayers in the US. So today we're going to spend a little bit of time here. I'm gonna share my screen to walk you through what you need to stay compliant and how you can maximize your tax savings this year and future years as well. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen here with us so that just please help me just to make sure that I am not talking on the vacuum. If you could please let me know if you can hear my presentation very well. I would appreciate that because in the past we've had lives where it didn't have sound, just technical issues. Sometimes they happen, but I trust that this is not gonna be one of them, right? I trust this is not gonna be one of them. Just to make sure that we are on the same page. Please let me know if you can see my slides, if you can see my screen. Okay. Okay. So it sounds like we have clear sound. Things are good. Things are good. So let's kick things off. So we're gonna be talking about number one, general considerations and the tax compliance around Schedule C filing, and then we're gonna share a little bit about tax opportunities, how you can make your Schedule C to work for you, and then we're gonna wrap up with some bonus. So with no further ado, let's begin with who needs to file a Schedule C. Okay. In general, if you are a sole proprietor or if you own a limited liability company, an LLC, okay, and you have not made an election to be taxed as an S-Corp or a C-Corp, then you absolutely will need to file a Schedule C. And the Schedule C we'll see in a few minutes here what a Schedule C looks like. You probably have seen one before, but just as a reminder, we'll share it with you. And some examples of individuals who have to file a Schedule C are independent contractors and freelancers. If you are an education consultant or an IT consultant, you get a 1099 and so forth. If you're self-employed, you have your own business, you probably more likely than not, if you got a 1099 or not, maybe somebody forgot to send that to you, you'll probably need to file a Schedule C. And especially the IRS rules tells us if you've made a net business income of $400 or more, you'll need to file a Schedule C. For the folks who are a single member LLC, it's important to really remember, that you don't need to file a 1065, okay, because that's a partnership return, meaning that you would need to file, and it doesn't always apply, uh, file a 1065 if you are a disregarded entity. And by the way, a disregarded entity, it's simply a limited liability company that doesn't have a more than one owner who are related. Okay, so some more examples of folks who need to file a Schedule C. So we're looking at gig workers, side hustle professionals, right? If you're an Uber driver, an Airbnb host, or an Amazon seller, self-employed individuals, most, if not all, real estate professionals, right? Real estate agent, you receive commission, you will need to file a Schedule C unless you have a different structure. If you're a consultant, a personal trainer, right, you'll probably need to file a Schedule C as well. If you are in the trade business or skilled professional, right, a handyman, electrician, a tattoo design artist or landscaper, all these folks need to be filing Schedule C on, and we'll show you where that goes. If you're a medical professional, you also need to file a Schedule C, a wellness professional, a creative or entertainment professional, right? If you're a musician, if you are a painter, a YouTuber, a photographer, all of you folks would need to be filing a Schedule C. If you run a home-based business, right? By the way, we run a home-based CPA practice essentially. We don't have a physical location. So guess what? But we don't file a Schedule C because of what I said earlier, right? We've made a choice to be taxed differently. So if you're a virtual assistant, a bookkeeper, maybe even a tax professional, one of our competitors, and you don't have your affairs organized in a different way, you probably also need to file a Schedule C. A truck driver, a delivery driver, and so forth. So all of you folks will need to file Schedule C. But the list is not exhaustive, okay? So how and when do you need to file your Schedule C? So first of all, you need to understand where your Schedule C goes. Your Schedule C goes exactly as part of your Form 1040, right? Your individual tax return. You attach your Schedule C within it, and then you send it to the IRS. And more often than not, it's actually required to also attach your Schedule SE or self-employment schedule, okay? So that it goes to with your Schedule C. And when do you need to file your Schedule C? Your Schedule C needs to be filed by April 15th, unless you file an extension, right? That gives you 6 more months to go filing by October the 15th. But does it mean that you don't have to pay taxes? Absolutely not. Extension to file doesn't equate with the waiver of filing of paying your taxes. If you expect to owe, it's always a good idea to send your quarterly tax withholding. So we have here, right, a some of the deadlines, or all of the deadlines, by the way, that you need to keep in mind about when you should be filing your or paying your taxes, excuse me. So April 15th, that's going to be for 2025, right? I believe you should have paid by January 15th all of, if not most of your taxes for 2024, okay? So you have the dates here: June 15th, September 15th, and then January of 2026. Yep. So you have that. Now, how are Schedule C is taxed, right? Now that you know that what are your responsibilities, what are your obligations. So let's see what you need to keep in mind. So most people who live in states like me, Illinois, or other states across the nation who have an income tax, besides the federal income tax, they should also expect to pay for the state income tax. But besides these two, you also need to be mindful about self-employment taxes that I already mentioned, Schedule SE, right? You need to pay a portion of the Medicare and Social Security taxes. So very important to keep in mind. But I also want to make sure that you are not mistaking things. I've seen business owners deducting federal income taxes on their tax returns. That's incorrectly done. So here are some of the expenses that are not deductible on your Schedule C. So salary you pay to yourself as the owner, it's not a deductible expense. That's a draw that affects differently your tax responsibility. Federal income taxes are not deductible for you, right? Any personal expenses is not deductible to your schedule in your Schedule C. Things like meals, auto, travel, entertainment, interest expense, mortgage expenses, charitable contribution. There are different schedules that you need to include some of these expenses and not all of them. So just be mindful that that is something that you need to be wary of and be really looking out for these things. There are folks out there trying to evade the system, trying to go around the system, and they end up committing tax fraud. So don't be one of these people. The other thing that you need to be aware of, I've seen folks deducting bad debt expenses, right? That's not deductible to you unless you are on an accrual basis of accounting. And you need to show that you are on the accrual basis of accounting. Your personal health insurance or the health insurance you pay for your family members, those are adjustment to arrive at adjusted gross income, okay? And not an expense to be deductible on your Schedule C. So I just want to show you what really happens, right, when you are paying for a Schedule C. So be mindful that you are paying both the employer portion and the employee portion of the self-employment taxes, right? When you have a job, your employer will pay half of those taxes and you pay the other half. And that gives us 15.3%. So a lot of money just going into the government. Unfortunately, there isn't much that you can do, but there are certainly ways to minimize these taxes. So for 2024, right, you are taxed at 15.3%, but there are some adjustment there. But also be mindful about the additional Medicare tax of 0.9% once you reach a certain income level. So let's just look here an example. I don't believe my screen is reflecting that example per se. So let me replace the screen into a different view here. So we have an example here of a small business owner who's going to be filing jointly, right? They earned about $500,000 and they had expenses of $180,000, giving them a net operating income of $320,000, right? If we apply the Medicare and the Social Security taxes, right, they're paying both portions, but the employer portion is deductible to them, meaning that the portion that of self-employment tax for them will only be about $45,000 with some changes. But because of their excess income, right, they have to pay excess additional Medicare taxes of $630, not much, right? And then after we have that, then we can actually compute their taxable income, right? We also, assuming they qualify for qualified business income, we have a nice deduction there that reduces their taxable income to only $236,000 with some changes, right? Once we compute their income, then the total taxes that they are effectively be paying is around $80,000, right? So that's an effective tax rate of approximately, give or take, 25%. Now that we have seen that, let me go back to our presentation so that we can continue pressing forward. And here's what I want to bring to your attention. If you can, right, when you reach certain income level, it's always a good idea to consider an S corporation election or C corp if it makes financial sense to you. Okay, and by the way, we can help you with that. So just be mindful about that. And here's an example of what a typical Schedule C looks like. Right, you have the first part, the name of the proprietor. You have the income portion, and then the expenses portion, and some other supporting schedule that can go along that. And we always recommend our clients to really set up a proper accounting system that helps them keep track of all of their expenses, all of their income, so that we're not in a situation where they have no idea what's their income, what's their expenses, where they're making money, where they're losing money, or even, worse than that, missing out on deductions because they forgot about something they paid early in the year, and they end up losing that. So make sure that you have a good accounting system. And again, around your tax planning and tax preparation, please work with your tax professional, tax advisor to help you figure out what structure is most appropriate for you. It's most advantageous to you. Okay, so that's something that we would like to recommend to you. Now, let's jump around Schedule C tax opportunities. So very often we see business owners or self-employed folks who are not optimizing their expenses, right? Their tax deduction, and most or more often than not, they are not claiming these deductions, even though they're entitled to them, because they are afraid of an IRS tax audit. But my friends, please, I hope that's not your case, because what the tax code gives you as tax benefit, you need to claim them, you need to take advantage of them. But please be mindful that you need to always keep your documentation and making sure you have the right tools, the right information to support your expenses. So things that we often see that business owners are not claiming, things like depreciation, right? There's a lot of miseducation around that, ignoring to claim your home office deduction, not taking advantage of business meals, business travels, right? Incorrectly deducting those, not planning for retirement so that you can maximize your tax deduction. That's also some of the big problems. So make sure that you're taking advantage of those, and you're leveraging some of the very easy, right, tax strategies that you can claim, right? Things like hiring your family member, your spouse, your children's under 18, your smartphone, right? You know, take involving your family into the business so that you can convert some of the personal trips into the business trips, right? Renting your home from your spouse to run your home office, right? Making your home office as a primary place of your business, right? Optimizing fringe benefits and so forth. So all these things and more can help you reduce your income tax liability really easy and maximize your benefit. So the last thing that I want to touch on right now is around some of the tips that you can use to maximize your tax savings, right? Number one, to avoid IRS audits, right? You need to keep good records. Good records are important, are key, are fundamental, right? 3 to 7 years for most types of records, right? Properly categorizing your expenses, and be mindful of obvious red flags. Things like excessive losses on your tax return could easily raise alarms there. For us, claiming unusually high deductions, we've seen people in an industry that doesn't require travels, and they're claiming like hundreds of $1,000s worth of traveling expenses. Man, really tough to deal with. So be mindful of that. If you're gonna be owing more than $1,000, if you expect to owe at least $1,000, you should be mindful enough to be paying your quarterly tax payments, right? So make sure you're doing that. And again, nothing beats keeping track of really good records for income, for expenses, your assets, your liabilities. Once you do that, you are very well positioned to take advantage of the tax code. And for best practices, right? If you have a very simple structure, there are plenty of softwares out there that can help you keep track of your expenses. Even Excel is one of these very simple systems and structures that helps you, that allows you to effectively keep track of your income and expenses. Please use separate bank accounts. Don't commingle your personal affairs to the business affairs. That's a recipe for disaster. Make sure you have separate accounts that you can move money from the business account to the personal account and then use for the personal expenses, and vice versa. Okay. Maximize your retirement. Today in the US, we have a crisis around people not saving enough for their retirement. So make sure that you're working with the right type of professionals who can give you the right tools and frameworks to maximize your retirement contribution. Learning how to time your income or expenses can make a huge difference between overpaying taxes and keeping more money for your own pockets. And lastly, if you are in a place where you think, well, I've heard of this S corporation thing, but I'm not sure what is this, how it can help me, get in touch with a professional. Ideally, get in touch with us. We're here to help you maximize your tax saving and keep more money for yourself and your family and your personal aspiration. And if you're wondering how you can get in touch with us, here's our information, our website, our phone number. If you want to book a call with me or with my team, we're available, right? You can reach out to us at 773-937-1264, or you can send an email directly to me, LC Paulo, like Paul with an O at the end, at yetuadvisory.com. Or you can just go straight into our appointment setting calendar and find the time with us there. It's been a pleasure to spend these 20 minutes with you. I had a lot of fun speaking with you as much as I had preparing this conversation. So if we can be of any help, any assistance, please let me know. And I look forward to speaking with all of you. So again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for spending your time with us. Again, my name is Lunta Di La Paulo. I'm a CPA. Let us know if we can be of any help or assistance.